Okay, goes Corey. It's the morning of day 16, but I want to do a little day 15 recap, which we didn't do it last night. We woke up at our nice little campsite. It was a pretty mellow day of hiking overall. We did like 10 or 11 miles, but the first like 7 were cool. Just a steady climb from like 5,600 all the way up to 7,000 feet. And the next 2 miles, you drop down straight 1,000 feet. And then the following 2 miles, you climb right back up 1,000 feet. How was all that climbing, babe?
Fine on the lungs, not so great on the feet and Achilles.
Yeah, that's fair. So, that little steep part was kind of a pain. But besides that, it was really lovely mountain hiking again, you know? It is so nice to be out of that desert you hiked through before, Paradise Valley Cafe. Question is, are these monarchs too, or monarchs orange and this is a different butterfly? This is the lovely Cedar Spring. Flowing beautifully. It is a mile off trail, but I thought it'd be straight downhill and it wasn't, and man, this is nice. I'm sure these can't be redwoods, but they definitely give you a little bit of redwood vibes. Really pretty down here. Oh, then we got to our camp and it's right on, it's at mile 168.5, right on the saddle, where you have like Hemet, Idlewild, the coast one way, and another way you have Palm Desert and the desert. And we got there and it was like a nice sunny day, and you could see this thick wall of clouds out there, but it was off in the distance. Then all of a sudden, they just started charging us. And I'm not sure I can even describe what happened last night. Like, I'll probably show way too much B-roll right now of the sunset, but I mean, it was almost indescribable. It's like the thick cloud layer was at 6,500 feet and we were at 700. So it's like we were on this little island above the clouds and the wind was ripping like legit 40 knots, probably 35 knots coming up the hill. But our little site was somehow protected and not that windy. It was like, it didn't even make sense. So we had one guy camping next to us, Brian, and we just stood out there and just stared for like an hour and a half. It was truly, truly incredible. And finally the sun sets, and we kind of take a deep breath and turn around, and the full moon had just risen, and it was super low in the sky, bright orange and big. It was seriously like, I mean, I spent a lot of times working on boats. I've lived on some islands. I have seen some insane sunsets, and last night would get, I mean, any of them a run for their money. Really special. Hello.
Hi.
It's been a minute. We're actually having lunch and it is our 19th day on trail. So it's been a few days since we've done like a proper recap, but we're going to go back and try to cover it all now. So I think we left off after that crazy sunset. And we had camped at mile 168.5 and everyone said that the trail kind of gets really slow and sketchy after mile 170. And they weren't wrong. On our approach, we saw one hiker that had turned around. They thought it was too sketchy. But we just followed the PCT. We wanted to take a look. We knew people who had done it. And we got to the section and it was the first like gnarly ice chute.
Apache Peak.
Apache Peak. It's definitely not something you want to mess around with. Everyone takes this whole section really seriously because there's a kid who fell and died a few years ago. So it's certainly nothing to play around with. But that being said, we had micro spikes and we have ice axes. and it was very short. Basically, the trail's just on like a cliff, just kind of going across. And so it'd be all snow, and there's just like a little flat path of boot tracks. And so you take the boot tracks.
And you go super slow, like, and very careful and methodical.
Yeah, you put on our micro spikes. I have tracking pole in one hand, ice axe in the other, and you just go real slow. And neither of us thought it was. I mean, you certainly wouldn't want to fall, but it wasn't scary to us. Like, we went really slow. I never felt like I was gonna slip. Yeah, you wouldn't want to like take it lightly and like be joking around or do it casually. But it wasn't. It didn't feel like really unsafe to us, at least. So we did that, and then we ran into 3 more hikers that had got even farther, and then they had turned around too, and they said, look, our group went on, they did it, but they didn't feel comfortable doing it. So we really
we got nervous.
yeah, it was scary. We saw 4 hikers that turned around, and we were basically doing like 10 miles back to get around this stuff. But we knew like the group we had been hiking with had done it. Another group we had met the day before with like all sorts of skill levels, a 63-year-old man down to young people, they had all done it. So we knew it was doable. But when you see 4 people turning around, it's pretty scary. But again, we got to that section, and it was one more small ice chute, and it was the same deal, very steep. You don't want to fall, but it wasn't long. And once we got through that one might have been maybe 2 little sketchy bits, but once we got through that, it ended up being absolutely lovely up there.
One of our favorite days, going through the snow, and there were beautiful meadows just covered in snow. It was gorgeous.
It was so
felt like a
cool.
little winter wonderland playground.
Yeah, and no one was up there, so I felt like we were the only ones up there. And we did take the Taquit's Peak alternate, so basically the PCT goes like this, and then this alternate just goes like this. Mainly because we had our friends, the Rock Lookers, had an Airbnb, and we had a room there for the night, and we were just trying to get down and save some time. Because the PCT, I don't think it would have been unsafe at all. It's just this other way. We knew everyone had done it recently, and it was super mellow, so we took the mellow route. And yeah, super, super lovely, beautiful meadow.
When we got to the top of Devil's Slide, which is where we exited, we called a trail angel named Sonia.
Shout out Sonia.
Thank you, to come pick us up from the Humber Park parking lot. And so when I got down the hill, Ernie and Sonia were waiting in the car for me, which was awesome.
Yeah, from the PCT, it's like 2.4 miles down to this parking lot. And you can walk farther into town, but it's only like 4.5 miles. Or if you're lucky, you just get a hitch from this parking lot. And we did call Sonia. It was easy. There's also a whole bunch of day hikers there, so we would have got a ride down anyways. But it's good to know. You don't have to do the whole thing. You can just get to the parking lot.
Then we were staying at the Idlewild Inn. We got a cabin there with the Rock Lickers. It was really fun. There were like 7 or 8 of us in the cabin. And first night, we had dinner.
Yeah, Baby Bird, Snocket, and Olivia all made dinner. There's a little bit of a salad, stir-fried veggies, a huge thing of white rice.
It's delicious.
And some steak. A couple of the girls are vegan and vegetarian, and so a few of us had split the steak, and everyone else ate all the veggies and stuff. And super, super nice to have a nice home-cooked meal. And you go to the grocery store, you buy this stuff, ends up being like $8 a person to have a great dinner versus, if you go out and everyone's spending $25. So it was really, really, really nice.
And the next day was a bunch of town chores.
Yeah, I was at 0. But
yeah, we spent a lot of time doing grocery shopping, planning our resupply. We did 6 days of food, so we kind of have a long carry right now. And we went around town and met the mayor.
We did.
Mayor Max.
We randomly ran into the mayor. It was really kind of cool and organic. I was just walking, and this car pulls up, and it's got the mayor stickers and this golden retriever sticking out. It's out the window, and I'm like, oh man, is that the mayor? And then this sweet lady Phyllis, who is the owner, so chief of staff of the mayor. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'll be out in a second, or if you want to sit here with him, just make sure he doesn't jump out of the back of the car. So she opened the back of the car, and I basically was like the mayor's bodyguard for like 10 minutes while she went in and got donuts.
And then she comes out and goes, do you want these donuts?
Yeah. She's like, I do this to support the community. I don't even really want these donuts. Do you guys want these donuts? And it's a box of donuts and some cookies. And I'm like, we're in a house with 8 hikers.
Yes, we want the donuts.
And it was the day before my birthday, so it is all kind of serendipitous. But it was really, really cool. Sweet little guy, Max.
And then that night we went to dinner at La Casita, where they have $2 tacos on Thursdays, and got margaritas. And then we came back to the cabin, and Turkey Vulture had made
second dinner,
which was needed.
Yeah, she did some tofu, and then turned the big pot of white rice we left over into some nice fried rice and another big salad.
It was delicious.
Yeah, it's nice to get your veggies in when you're not on the trail, because you just don't eat very many vegetables up here.
And then the next day we woke up and it was Ernie's birthday.
Yeah.
So Ernie went to go get coffees, and I put up a little happy birthday banner, and we did a big birthday breakfast with bacon and vegan pancakes and berries. And...
yeah, a bunch of berries. It was real sweet. And then I had to go deal with more of my storage stuff because I'm still struggling to keep all this video and not overload my phone. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It was not a very inviting day to get back on the trail because it's like it was misting all day in town, and it was supposed to rain that evening between like 5 and 10. So we literally almost stayed too. We like called everywhere, but there was some event today. It was Friday night, and there was just no accommodations left in town. So
we walked up Devil's Slide 2.5 miles with it sort of misting on us and the wind howling, and we got to the top and decided just to set up camp to avoid the rain. And it started raining and then snowing right after.
It was fun. Corey might have been a little nervous. She had the low side of the tent. Basically, with our Durston, you like unless you're completely level, one person has the higher side and one person has the lower side. And the way it pitched, the lower side was worse. And then as the snow kind of weighed it down, Corey
was getting closer and closer to my face, and I was worried I was just gonna wake up with a pile of snow on my face.
Yeah, so she might have been a little stressed for a minute, but it ended up being fine. We woke up with it was probably like 2 inches of snow, but it was super
so
wet snow. It wasn't like nice, fluffy, light snow. It was very, very like wet, just that barely snow. But it was definitely snow. But it was nice. Yeah, we got some cool shots of the tent. And you could just, as we picked up the tent, you could just see the empty square where it was to show that it was a good, inch or two that stuck at least, so.
And then ever since we've been hiking up, we're headed to Fuller Ridge, which is our last big snow traverse, and then we'll start heading down San Jacinto later today.
Yeah, the hiking today has been mainly nice and lovely and winter wonderland-ish, but then you do get in sections where you're like
slushy,
and it's easy to lose the trail. The trail's covered in snow, so you're mainly following people's boot prints. But then there'll be junctures, and it's like if you don't notice that the trail switched back and you follow someone else's prints, you can end up off trail super easy and quick. So it's slow moving. We're only doing like 1.5 miles an hour today. Normal pace is like 2+, really slow is 1. We're doing like 1.5, but yeah, we had a slow morning too. We didn't get out till like 8:30. Our tent was soaking wet, so we took our sweet time this morning, had a hot coffee. It was nice.
That's kind of it.
That's it. Morning. It is day 20 for us on the trail. Camped at Fuller Ridge Campground last night, and we're heading down the hill. Since lunch yesterday, we basically did Fuller Ridge, which is known as being one of the areas that holds a lot of snow and can be sketchy. There was no ice chute cliffs that you were scared of falling down, but there was a lot of snow. A lot of it was slushy in the middle of the day, a lot of sliding around. I was on my butt at least 6 times yesterday, probably. Corey only a couple.
I wear my spikes more.
Yeah. It's just when it gets slushy like that, the spikes, they help a bit, but it's like they're really designed for ice. So, yeah, it was just hard hiking. It was mentally exhausting. We lost the trail a lot because it's just covered in snow. And in winter, the trail kind of isn't on the trail. It's just the passive leaf resistance through the snow. And then as it starts to melt, sometimes that old snow trail where there's boot tracks you're following ends up in just a giant patch of bushes or boulders, or it just doesn't work out. And then you open up the Far Out app and your GPS and you realize you're 50 feet off the trail and you have to bushwhack and whatever. It's not that bad, but it is exhausting and very slow going. And then when we thought we were finally done with the snow, we got to this spot called Castle Rock. We dipped to the far side of the ridge again and ended up for the last 1.5 miles, 2 miles, just in more snow again. So it was definitely hard on the knees, and we were tired when we got into camp, but we got into camp at 6, had dinner, and pretty much just slept. There was one spot where we approached, and on Far Out, there were switchbacks going down the hill 80 feet. There's 5 switchbacks. But as you get there, it's all snow, and there are no switchbacks, boot tracks made. There's basically one person had slid down on their butt pretty much the whole thing, and then there was some very steep boot tracks on the side of it. But the steep boot tracks aren't great either. We ran into another hiker there who was kind of looking at it. So I kind of decided to send it, and as I'm trying to sit down, I just slip and end up on my butt. and I'm just sliding down like the full 60, 70 feet. I used my ice axe. I had it in my hand, of course, to slow me down a couple of times and hit the brakes, but it was pretty fun, but I might not recommend it. Yeah, today we feel like we're in heaven because this trail is like nice dirt trail again. We're not bushwhacking, we're not in snow. It's really amazing. And it's 19 miles completely down the hill. We slept at like 7,700 feet. And in 19 miles, you reach the I-10 interstate, and it's at like 1,100 feet. So it's literally 6,600 feet down in 19 miles today, if we want to go that far. Or we can stop a few miles short and go tomorrow. At the I-10, you can get an Uber or find a ride to In-N-Out. There's a little town you can go to resupply if you want. Or some people just push right through. And sometimes underneath the underpass there's like trail magic, and we've seen people cooking up burgers there. Some people left In-N-Out there, so you just never know. So playing it by ear, but it feels pretty nice. Be out of the snow.